Welcome back, internet friends. You may have seen my other video about rhodium, the second most precious metal on the earth. And today, rhodium's price is over $8,000 an ounce. Someone else coined rhodium the Bitcoin of precious metals. While that's not really true, it is kind of an interesting way that the price has gone from $800 a few years ago all the way up to $8,000. So today I want to give you an update on rhodium, what's been going on, why the price has gone so ballistic in the last few months, and give you a little perspective on the outlook going forward. If you found this video because you're a rhodium investor, you're probably scrambling around looking for information right now, trying to figure out what's going on. Not a whole lot of people are talking about it when it really has been the greatest investment of the last couple of years. It's gone from under $1,000 in 2016 to now we're at $8,000. And why is this happening? If you're really curious how to get filthy rich with precious metals and rhodium, the first thing you're going to need to do is smash that like button. Global politics and events have been greatly boosting rhodium buying from speculators. For example, after the recent Iran missile strike, rhodium jumped over $500. Another example, this Friday after Trump made some success in the trade deal with China, prices jumped over $600 on hopes that China will be buying more vehicles from the US. Over the last couple years, platinum has been very suppressed, and platinum ore is where we generally find rhodium. It was also discovered in platinum ore. So if the price of platinum is very low, what urge do these mining companies have to go out and mine platinum and start up operations? And the cost is also so expensive to mine that metal that they're not even breaking even some of these mines. The price has to be higher for them to really turn a profit. So they're not motivated to dig it out of the ground when it's at a low price. It's also not traded on like the digital market. It's mostly traded physically. Now, if rhodium is mostly found with platinum deposits and they're not being pulled out of the ground, you can imagine eventually the supply of rhodium will dry up because we use rhodium in vehicles. The demand for it is consistent, especially from the Chinese auto market, but rhodium is used in catalytic converters and in a lot of vehicles. So the demand continues, yet the supply is constrained by the low price of platinum, and platinum has been suppressed for a couple of years now. Rhodium is irreplaceable, so if it is needed for a specific product or a specific tool and nothing else can replace it, this is going to increase the value. I believe as long as the auto market in China continues to be okay, and as long as like the economy in the US and other parts of the world continues to be okay, that the price is going to most likely not drop below $5,000 in the next week or two, at least. Now, talking about price, historically, it's done this many times. History doesn't exactly repeat itself, but it does tend to rhyme. And it's rhyming right now. In the 90s, we had the price go to an all-time high of 5,000 in just a couple of years. And then it crashed back down. Well, then it rallied again in 2004 to 2007. The price went all the way to $10,000. And in 2008, around the time the financial crisis and problems were happening, the rhodium prices collapsed because auto demand also collapsed. Whenever an asset or precious metal becomes exuberantly high in price, like rhodium did in 2007, people began recycling it however they could, which further drove down the price in 2008 by increasing the supply. When things become valuable enough, people will recycle them and find any means necessarily to produce it in order to get value and turn it into cash. They went from $10,000 all the way down to like $800. A few years later, while they were floating around $800, some wonderful guy who isn't even on the internet anymore told me that I should look into it. So I kept it on my radar and I bought some. And it was under $1,000 in late 2015, early 2016. You could have bought this metal 3 years ago, and now you're sitting at $8,000. So you're sitting at almost a tenfold gain in just a short amount of time. This is why someone coined it the Bitcoin of precious metals, because that was the kind of gain we saw a few years ago in Bitcoin. It went from 3,000 to 10,000 and then 19 very fast. As in this 3-year span, we've seen rhodium go up almost 9-fold. And the demand continues. The supply is actually further constrained because of the geopolitical factors and where it's located. Almost all the rhodium in the world comes from South Africa. A South African news headline reads, "There is no escape for South African miners from the crippling power outages caused by load shedding at the state-owned electricity company, Eskom." South Africa is currently having some issues with their electricity setup. They're doing what's called load shedding. Last I heard a couple weeks ago, it was 6 megawatts off their grid. For around 5 or 6 hours a day, areas of South Africa are not having power. A commenter, one of you, the viewers out there, told me about this a couple months ago, and they said that the rhodium prices should continue to climb if these rolling blackouts keep hurting their people. Biggest producers of rhodium are all South African companies. There's one Russian company. They are trying to mine in this environment. And you can imagine if the power's going out for a few hours a day, how are you going to run heavy machinery? How are you going to keep it safe in a mine? I just can't imagine the amount of power needed to run a mining operation. So the biggest producers of rhodium are Amplats. In 2014, they pulled out about 229,000 ounces. And they've suffered like a 15% reduction in how much they produced this last quarter because of the rolling blackouts. And they're continuing to lose production because of it. Amplats is the next one from South Africa, and they pull out about 157,000 ounces of rhodium a year. Norilsk Nickel is the Russian company, and they produce about 91,000 ounces of rhodium a year, but most of it comes from South Africa. Amplats had to shut down their mining operations in Rustenburg and Marala because their power was being cut by like 20 to 30%. The cost of them stopping these mines has been at about $8 million per day. Historically, rhodium has gone through these cycles of like 3 to 4 year rallies, and then it has a obliterating crash where the price can go down by 80 or 90%. Rhodium gets to $20,000, let's say. Right now it's at $8,000, and that is very expensive. Eventually cars or technology will find a way around using it perhaps, and find some other instrument or metal to make things out of that can do a similar effect, even though rhodium is irreplaceable. As I said before, this rally started around 2016, and we're sitting here at 2020. So this has been a 3 to 4 year run up, and we're getting at very ballistic price ranges. The price went up a couple weeks ago. It was $6,000. I woke up one morning and it was $6,900. The next morning it was $72,000, and then it was $8,200. So in a span of a week, we saw like a $2,000 jump. The spread, like the bid and ask, rhodium is worth $8,000 as of today, January 13th. But if you want to sell it, you're going to get about $7,500. So it has this huge spread of $500 between the bid and the ask price when you're buying or selling it. So while this has been one of the greatest decisions in my investing life, I'm also pretty sketched out watching the price go so high so fast. The higher it goes, the more likely it is to correct and have that massive crash. I wouldn't necessarily recommend anyone buying it right now. I plan to sell it very soon and take my profit. And then when the price does crash down in a year or two, if something happens with the auto market, then I'll have that money to reinvest. And I'll always keep rhodium on my radar because it's done me so good. If you want to sell your rhodium, it's quite simple. You just got to call Kitco. I trust them for information, and I've bought from them. They're going to want a credit card or a debit card. They're going to take that number and hold it in case you try to jump back on your decision to sell. So some people, like, imagine I decide to sell at 8,000, and then the next morning after I've completed the account and the phone call with Kitco and confirmed that I want to sell, let's say it goes up to 9,000. People get upset and they don't want to ship the rhodium. So they keep your credit card on file so that they can charge you the difference in case you back out of the deal. But you basically call them, you give them a credit card, you go over some information with them, like set up an account. You can do it on the computer as well. Then you ship it to them. It takes a couple weeks for them to verify that it's there, and they want to verify that you have authentic rhodium bars with serial number and that you have what you said you had. And then simply they wire transfer to your account. And from what I've heard, there's no sales tax on rhodium, and it's not traded on the paper market, but it's not like that easy to follow. So it's kind of cool in that way. Like, how do they know what people buy it at? It's a physical thing. It's not traded digitally. It's not traded. It's just bought online and, can be sold and bought physically, and it's shipped around. That's a beautiful thing about it. It also can't be shorted. Gold and silver are traded online, like in the stock market, in paper money. And rhodium is really not traded in paper wealth. So the price is less easy to manipulate. You can't just short it. People make tons of money shorting gold, shorting silver in the paper market, in the futures market, and the commodities exchanges. But rhodium isn't really on those. This is also a good thing for right now, as its supply is dwindling and the demand is still there. People can't short it like they could even Bitcoin, as that's what we compared it to in the past, even though they're physical versus digital, so many differences. But, people were able to short Bitcoin, that helped it crash. In the past, people short gold and silver, that further drives the price down and it gives it more momentum to snowball downward. So those are my thoughts on this incredible metal, rhodium, the second rarest metal on Earth. Like I said, do not buy it right now. At least that's not my recommendation. But if you have some and you're one of my commenters who's been telling me, and we're all looking for information, we are the rhodium community. There's no information, a handful of people making videos. Mine is one of the top videos up there, and I have 7,000 or 6,000 subscribers. So we are the rhodium community. I welcome you into the community. Keep rhodium on your radar. Just watch it, and someday if the price crashes, you might want to get it. It's the second rarest thing on this planet, and see what happens in the future. Go ahead, if you like this video, smash that like button. Feel free to subscribe. I make videos all the time. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any information about rhodium, or tell me your investing story with this precious metal. Good luck to you as always, and just have a great day.